welcome to another edition of Leathercast Comics. I'm John.
And I'm Dave.
And I'm not Dave. So what wonderful things are going on in the world of comics this week?
Oh, a lot of wonderful things. There's an announcement today, actually, or whenever this comes up, probably later today. Scott Snyder, I guess, is taking over Justice League, and they're finally confirmed that he'll be writing Justice League, the ongoing. And I think the art, I think they got Jimmy Chung from Marvel, which is pretty cool. I like his art, so I'm actually excited, like, for the Justice League team. And they have, like, the lineup was Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Martian Manhunter, Cyborg, and there might have been someone else I'm missing. But that's pretty cool because Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl were in the cartoon together, and they had like a little romance going on.
Do you think they'll carry that romance on into this book?
I mean, I don't see why not. Like, you already have sort of a history, not in the comics, but in the media. So it's like, I don't know. I think so.
That'd be pretty bitchin'.
Do you like that idea or no? Do you think they should just totally ignore it?
I think romance is okay to have in your book. I mean, superheroes need to get laid too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
they go on dates. You know, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Have some romance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. They gotta get
romance or hooking up, whatever, you know.
Right. Everybody likes a little hookup action every once in a while. Hey, baby, you want to see what I can do with these wings?
Do you think, like, Jon Stewart will make all kinds of weird, like, constructs and stuff for
her? I don't see why he wouldn't. I mean, let's have some fun with this. Hey, baby, I can go all night. I have the willpower.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And he's got like a, he, depending on the woman, maybe he better keep that lantern there to charge up his battery. A lot.
Yeah, she might drain its energy pretty quickly. Who knows?
Yeah, so what happens if she's wearing like a yellow bra or something? Does it?
Yeah, you can't take it off.
Is that all done then?
They fixed that. They fixed the yellow impurity, but yeah. Who knows?
So I just finished Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
Which you had said you read.
Yeah, I did.
So what is your take on that book?
So, like, I like the book, but I guess not as much as I thought I would like it. Like, it's interesting. It's a very interesting book. I enjoyed a lot of it. I felt like towards the end we were kind of just, I don't know, it's a short book, but I thought there would be something more happening. Like, I don't know. Like, I felt like it's a good, it's a really good story, but I felt like there should have been more to it, I guess. Well, I don't know. What did you feel? Like, I like the story, but.
So, in that respect, it's a lot like the dystopian sci-fi stories of that era.
Yeah.
So, like, you've got 1984. Nobody, like, the protagonist really doesn't win in that book. At the end of the book, you're just like, wow, that guy's pretty fucked.
Yeah, but I don't mind, like, nobody winning or like there's no big heroic change or something. And I'm fine with that. I just felt, I don't know why, I felt like it should have been more. I like the book, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of weird at the end where he's like, "Well, I'm the book of Ecclesiastes, or you're the book of Ecclesiastes, and this is all the work of you know." That was kind of strange where they're like, "Well, everybody's going to remember this stuff and then carry
Yeah,
it on." But
you're
then
each like a book or whatever, and
but then the bombs fall shortly after that.
yeah,
And they really don't get into what happens next, so you're kind of left hanging, which is all right. I mean,
so we should probably talk about what the book is about,
it's
if
about book burners. I think, yeah,
for people that don't know. Yeah, I mean, so a guy is he the guy's name is Guy. He's a fireman, and what their job is to actually burn books, not put out fires, but to actually start them. And in the beginning of the book, he meets a young girl that has all kinds of different takes on everything, and he really like starts to think, and you could tell maybe he was already thinking about these things before she came along, and she was kind of an odd girl to him, but she's just suggesting like things, and like, have you ever looked up at the sky and this and that and the other thing, and it seems like they don't really think for themselves. And the TV, what do they call them, the parlors or something, there's a lot of TVs in the house, and that's their entertainment, and it's always on. It's very strange. Like, I was imagining that the walls were one big screen. I don't know if that's what you thought.
that's totally what I thought. And she's like, "Well, we have to get the fourth wall," so which so she could be totally immersed in her program.
Yeah, it's like you're almost in it yourself, but the shows and entertainment is very shallow, I guess. There's not much meaning to it. It's just mindless junk, kind
Yeah,
of like a lot of the TV that we have nowadays. Just mindless crap, right?
it would be like watching uh, the Kardashians 24 hours a day. That's how I imagine it. And it's like scary to think of how much of that you can draw parallels to our news and our entertainment. Like reality television and the news pretty much have zero substance most of the time.
In the sense of the why they were burning the books and stuff was because the entertainment that we were getting on TV was not really supposed to make you think. It wasn't supposed to make you sad. It was supposed to kind of just make you happy, or just kind of like, I don't know, like kind of put you in like a trance, like just kind of, you're in a haze. You're not really thinking outside of anything that anyone else is telling you about. The books were burning because you could read a novel or a book or a poem, and it'll make you feel sad, or it'll make you think about something or worry about something. So obviously, there's books that will make you happy and laugh and all that, but it was really like they didn't want any of that free thinking, so they're getting rid of it. And if you were caught with those possessions, uh, your items were burned and you were sent to jail or killed, right? And one of the ladies was like, "I'm not. You could burn my books and burn me with them because I'm you're not going to take me alive or whatever."
And that's kind of what drove Guy over the edge to be like, what the hell are we doing?
Sure, because he meets that girl and she gets him thinking, and then he goes home and he sees his wife, and she's just like doped up, like she has to get like her stomach pumped, and she basically, I don't know, was she trying to kill herself, John? Or
They never really established that. So I think that that's probably the case. Like she actually had a feeling. Or
yeah,
they also said maybe she just took the pills, forgot that she took them again until the whole bottle was gone. Which the
yeah,
way she acts throughout the book, I could buy that. Of course, that could be the brain damage from taking all the drugs. Who knows?
yeah. And she didn't even remember the next morning. Like she was like, "Oh, what? I feel tired and
That couldn't
kind
have
of bad."
happened. I would have never done that.
Right. But it's weird because he's like 30 years old. They met when they were 20 years old. He can't really remember if he loves her. He's not sure. He thinks he loves her, but he's not. He's like, I don't, not really. He doesn't really remember why they got married or when they met. It's That's kind of odd, right? Like he's kind of like in a haze.
And he remembers later on, and then he starts getting all this guilt that she never like woke up.
Yeah,
And
she never snapped out of it, right?
the one thing that was pretty like relevant is when he's talking to the other firemen who had obviously read some books.
Like his chief
The
or the guy
chief.
that was in charge. Yeah, right.
And that guy was explain when he comes over to the house and he's explaining to him, okay, by now you've probably figured out that firemen didn't always start fires. We used to save fires, and that's true. And here's why we start these fires. And he explains that a big portion of it was to keep everybody happy and not to offend anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And this book was written what, like 65 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, just about.
And that's the kind of censorship that people are pushing for now. you know
Absolutely.
and that it's like, oh, your free speech isn't worth somebody's bad feelings. And it's just so messed up to see somebody pushing this agenda, uh semi successfully in this day and age. Like it's supposed to be freedom. It, it's so strange how the old sayings like sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Like that has gone to the wayside. Nobody says that anymore. And it's like, no, words hurt. And they do, but, nobody ever says, like, just like, suck it up. People are
Well,
assholes. Suck it up.
right. Words hurt sometimes, but it's this constant thing of when you were told that as a kid, or at least when I was told that as a kid, is because I was being way too sensitive towards something stupid. It was like, who gives a shit what that kid thinks of you? Like, really? Like, why are you gonna cry about it? Who cares? Yeah, that guy's a Timmy's a dick over there. Who cares? Like, it's kind of that situation. Yeah, sure. Like some people say things, and you're like, oh man, that really hurt my feelings. But sometimes you're just gonna run into people that say rude things and mean things, and you shake it off. You might not agree with them. You don't have to uh, go on a crazy, you know, going around punching people in the face because you don't like what they say, or a shirt they wear, or a flag they fly. Like, what I'm saying? Like, there is that freedom of speech, and that's really what this book was kind of about, right? And it's interesting that in the book, the guy, the chief, he read all these books and he's knowledgeable about them. And he kind of like towards the end, when they get in their big fight, he basically comes for them. We find out Guy didn't just steal the one book from the house; he has stolen many books from different houses throughout his career, and it's kind of like a reveal that we get later, right? And the chief seemed like he wanted to die. Like he didn't put up too much of a fight. Like it was a release for him or something.
Oh, he egged him on. I mean, he didn't have a weapon and Guy did, and he egged him on until he used the weapon against him.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
because I don't know, maybe you just realized, hey, I'm living a lie or whatever, like I don't know.
Yeah,
But then they go. He was talking to this like old professor too, was helping him with the earbud thing in his ear and telling him all kinds of stuff, and that was kind of interesting.
that that was interesting, and it's pretty interesting how you know foretelling that was, because that kind of stuff exists now and it didn't before.
Right.
Uh, it's also interesting how they call like a headphone was called a seashell,
Yeah.
and I thought that was pretty cool because that stuff didn't you didn't use that stuff to communicate with people back then. You didn't have a little thing
No.
you stuck in your ear. I mean, we are talking about 19. Was it the 40s or the 50s?
Yeah, I think it was 1950 that was. He had been writing this for a while, and it went through a couple different interpretations actually, because it was first a short story. I think it was 1951 that this one was copyrighted, or 1950. So I like at the end basically the city was
1953.
1953. Uh, so basically at the end of the story, the war is coming. They're not informed to even know that bombs are coming their way, or they're just too stupid to even know how to defend themselves. Right? That's kind of what I got.
Yeah, the government keeps everybody in the dark because it's better if everybody just doesn't know what's going on, because then they have nothing to be upset about. Uh, Everybody just kind of plows through life being happy, and they go to work and they do their job and they come home and just zone out, and that's fine. I mean, that's pretty much what people do anyways.
Hmm.
But they
And
say
then,
that there's no time, like they got rid of porches because people would sit on the porch and have time to think and time to think about stuff, and like what could I maybe it would be better if we did things differently. Like you didn't
hmm
the whole idea was to occupy people's time enough that they would never have that moment to just sit down and process the world around them. It was just kind of move forward, move forward, move forward,
um,
even though you're not
and there,
going anywhere.
the one part that was kind of cool, kind of funny, was the Hound. So like he kept saying like during the book, like the Hound always gets his man. Like the Hound has never failed. The Hound is like this big. I'm assuming it's like this big mechanical thing that tracks down people uh, and catches them, and he's like part of the uh, like a police force kind of thing, right? He's working with the firemen, and it's not really alive, right, John?
Right.
And after everything's said and done, and he leaves the city, and he's like out in the wilderness, and he meets a bunch of people that are like telling him how everything is. They're like, "Oh, you'll be caught in a little bit," and he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You said that the Hound is going after." So basically, the Hound goes and finds some guy, some poor sap, and it's like, "Yeah, that was Guy. We got him," and they kill him, and you can't see the TV screen shows him, but you can't see his face, and they're like, "Well, they got him." It's just kind of funny. So like sometimes they do catch the people, and a lot of times they probably don't.
It seems like that would be just that's the kind of thing that you would see now. Like I just imagine that stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, we got him.
Yep. Whatever is going to make somebody look good and get things over with, they just okay, we got them.
So in my version of the book, there was a lot of extras in the back of it, and it was pretty funny that Ray Bradbury was asked about was asked about some stuff about his novel, about a bunch of different novels, because he wrote the Martian Chronicles as well, and he had gotten some letters like saying how great his stories are and how much he liked it, how much they liked them, and a lot of them for like from college students and stuff like that. And like he got a couple letters saying like, "Oh yeah, your book's great, but wouldn't it be a good idea like to rewrite your book and insert women in more important roles of your book, or you know, all your he got a letter saying that all the black people were Uncle Toms in your book, and why wouldn't you rewrite it for a better representation?" And another one was like, you showed black people too strong in your book. And he's basically like, he has this little saying. He was like, "Dear referees, I don't need your help. You can sit on the sidelines. You can stay on the bleachers." Basically, like, did you read the book? it's you're there's more than one ways to burn a book. And if you're going to take my work and you're going to change it and change words that I use specifically, or when you go to teach this in school and you edit things out, or you take whole passages out, you're basically destroying my work as well. So like, I did it for a reason. I wrote it for a reason, and if you don't like it, don't teach that book. Then I don't care. And it's kind of interesting when I read that stuff in the back, that he was really, really, really for freedom of speech, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't specifically recall race being anywhere in this book.
No, it wasn't this one. He was referring to some of his other novels, I guess, too.
Okay.
Uh, so he was talking about, I guess, the Martian Chronicles. I don't know. I've never read it. So,
Like, I
and
mean, if
some
you
other
think about when
books.
this book was published in 1953, and you're saying there were iterations before that, I mean, we were still a segregated country
Yeah.
at that point. Which is another thing I take in mind when, even like Tom Sawyer and the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which to me are really that story was the story about a boy um, figuring out that all these stereotypes and things he was taught about African Americans was just not relevant. Like, it
Hmm.
wasn't true. And it was a story of a young man, a 12-year-old, discovering the truth because he actually just spent time and talked with somebody.
Hmm.
As opposed to just believing everything you hear. He experienced it for himself and realized that, you know.
Yeah, things are different than what people say.
Right. And that's to me what that story is about. And there's an important lesson there. And, to throw that book out just because he wrote, and now you're talking about 1850s and 60s. Like, seriously, maybe it was later than that.
Is that something that you would suggest me to read or no? Because I've never read it. I don't think.
Oh, but yeah, they're fantastic
Oh, okay.
stories. Tom Sawyer. I don't remember which is which, but they are. I think I read the second one first, but it
Yeah.
didn't. It didn't really much matter. They both stand on their own. Yeah, they were fantastic. Fantastic, but to throw those out because they use the N word because that might offend somebody you're throwing out all the good lessons that came with it, and you're also not considering when the book was written, and uh, it, it should be viewed as a book that really could have helped um, help the plight of former slaves and stuff, not hurt them.
Yeah. I mean, it's when those books are written,
And I say
all
former
those.
slaves then because that's when it was written. There were lots of those.
You
If you
can't.
were African American then, you were probably a former slave.
It's hard, and it, it's something like I see a lot is you take like today's standards and you judge things from the past. Things have changed, so it's like it's hard to use today 2018 standards of being politically correct or whatever. Like normally you wouldn't use things like that in your book this time, but like you said, the lessons are still there, but you can't judge things on today's standards, something that happened you know that long ago, 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago, whatever, whatever you're talking about.
Yeah, so I mean, you could compare that story to the Ultraviolent America History X,
Yeah.
where that's really the story about somebody who has something ingrained to him and you know then sees the real world for what it is,
Yeah, then he goes to jail and
and finds out that no, he's the wrong asshole the whole time.
yeah.
And that, of course, that story ends in tragedy, and neither of the Huck Finn books do.
Oh, really? Okay.
But uh, same lesson, though. Things
Oh, that's cool.
things aren't the way you're told all the time. People are wrong. I don't know. So, you want to talk about a comic book now, or
Sure. Yeah. we t-
I'm done waxing philosophic.
yeah. Well, anyway, Fahrenheit 451. I think it's a good book. I didn't think it was. I mean, I thought it's good, and I understand why people really, really like it. So I recommend it.
Yeah, I would recommend it too. I'm pretty disappointed it took me this long to read it, to be honest. I should have read it a
Um,
long time ago.
I just picked up today was Brave New World.
Ugh,
So not good.
I don't know. I didn't really give it a fair shake. I've tried to read it a couple times, and like I get through like the first couple chapters, and I'm like, ugh, and I just don't ever get any further than that.
That someone else told me that today too. So like I got to like the first 20 pages, and I was like, oh man, I hope it doesn't suck. Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Right.
All right, so I read Sideways #2 from DC Comics, and I think I talked about this a little bit. Sideways, he's a character that uses like trans-dimensional portals, and he can kind of like transport himself different places. And the last issue left off on kind of a cliffhanger where this big dude was like, "Hey, I'm from this like council, and you keep using your freaking powers, and you're being really careless, and you're gonna cause like massive havoc in this world. So like, knock it off." So we start in the issue #2. We start with him talking to this character who is basically like, "Hey, you can't be doing this." And they're up on top of a big skyscraper in Gotham City, and he is trying to get away. So Sideways falls, and there's this really really cool 2-page spread where he's kind of like bouncing off the different buildings and stuff, and he uses his powers to transport himself into a body of water, but he was going too fast and he was falling from too high of a place, and he like bust up his shoulder. So he ends up going, he gets his friend to take him to the hospital, and when he's there, you find that his mom had already been called. His friend already called his mom. So sideways, his mom shows up, and he is adopted. And she has this really nice speech saying, like, I really have to sacrifice for you and all this stuff and look after you, and I'm really really worried. Uh, so it's a pretty good story as he's in the hospital trying to like hide his costume in his backpack and all this stuff because they think he's on drugs. Uh, and they're like, "Let me investigate your backpack," and he's like, and like his mask is kind of like hanging out. Uh, Someone shows up. This new character is going to be a villain. I think she shows up because of his trans-dimensional powers and using them, and basically she's taking uh, the hospital hostage, and he's going to have to fight her in the next issue. So it's a pretty good issue. I like it. It's fun. There's some jokes in there. It's great art, and it's definitely feels like a Spider-Man story.
The costume looks a lot like Spider-Man also. Just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. And there's no powers like Spider-Man, but he's very similar looking. And then the stories, with like his not elderly mother, but his mother kind of worrying about him, and he's got a girl next door that's like his kind of crush or girlfriend. They're just friends, it says, but
Is that Ernie?
uh, yeah, Ernie. Yep.
She's pretty
And
cute.
yeah, she's cute. She's got like a twin sister that's like all dolled up. Like
Huh.
she's like the like super smart cheerleader girl, and Ernie's kind of like, just laid back and kind of like a tomboy, I guess.
Alright, so I read Death of Love,
Ah, yes.
and the first couple pages I wasn't sure if I was going to like this book. So this guy, uh, you open it up and there's like a bunch of cherubs just laying waste to people. For those who don't know, a cherub is like, the short, fat angel, like like Cupid. Cupid is a cherub.
Like an angel baby.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're not babies, but they're small, chubby. Some of them are really muscular, but they're all small in stature, and they're just killing tons of people. And the guy, the main character, um, is like, I see. This is why I should take notes because I already forgot the guy's name.
I have the books in front of me and I flipped through them.
Yeah, I totally do not. So he's like, I asked for love and I got it, but this is not what I thought it was going to be. Let me start from the beginning, and then the story begins. And the guy's kind of a douchebag. And he's talking to his friend, and he's like, how come this girl doesn't like me? I like do all this stuff for her. I cover for her at work. I babysit her house when she's out of town. But she's always with this other guy, and he's an asshole. And I buy her stuff, and and his friend's like, dude, I don't. You're being an asshole. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I do all this stuff. I don't see how I'm being an asshole. And he's like, who's my favorite band? And then he tells him what his favorite band is. Who did I like in 11th grade? This, and he asks him a bunch of questions about himself, because it's his best friend.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, what kind of music does she like? And he can't answer any of the questions. And it's like, you're looking for some kind of transaction here. Like, I do enough. If I put enough quarters into this machine, like, a pile of sex is going to fall out.
Yeah, it's true.
So the guy's being
yeah.
a douche, and then he goes to some uh, self help seminar on how to get pussy, and his best friend goes with him, and his best friend's like, "This is disgusting. I'm leaving," and he leaves, and then he's out at the bar with a couple other guys that were at the seminar, and they're trying to pick up chicks and uh, failing miserably because they're still just douchey losers. And some guy comes up and is like, "Oh, I got what you need," and he puts down these pills, and then he takes a pill, and he goes to use the bathroom, and that's when he sees a cherub, and then that's where the issue ends. So far, I am pretty intrigued at where this is going to go. I'm really a big fan of Justin Jordan's writing, and this didn't disappoint me. I can't wait to pick up the next issue.
That's funny you say that because Justin Jordan co-wrote Sideways.
Ha!
Yeah, like Dan Didio, I think is like the main storyteller, the main writer, the plot guy, but Justin Jordan I think is doing the dialogue here.
Yeah, the last book of his that I was reading, I think, was Spread. Is that still going on?
I think it just finished. Yeah, it took forever. It lost me. That was like 10 issues in, 15 maybe, and I was like, I don't care.
Right.
I didn't care. I didn't care anymore.
Well, I think that's a problem with a lot of stories. They get to the middle arc, and and really it's just a bridge from the beginning to the end, and sometimes that can be garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed like a lot of stories, and this is with TV and comic books, is like they have a premise that's pretty interesting, but the premise can only go so far. And once you go too far or you drag it out too long, it just it's not interesting anymore. It's a lot of like TV shows I see that with, and sometimes with like the Image books, they're like, okay, here's the story, and you're like, okay, well, do we need 45 issues of this to tell the story, or could it have been told, in 25 issues? So a lot of times when you get to that middle part, you're right, like they're just kind of dragging it on, it seems, and like get to the point. What's your point of your book,
Well, it's just like all of these shows on the CW. The first two episodes and the last two episodes are good, and everything in between is just filler.
Sometimes, yeah, with just in the seasons, yeah. Sometimes in the seasons, you're like, okay, you have one big bad guy. Here's the premise, what he's doing, and then you're right, like, oh, season premiere, that's pretty good. The next couple episodes, there might be a few episodes in between that are decent. For the most part, it feels like you're wasting time to get to like the last 3 episodes or whatever.
Right. I mean, you could really watch episode 1, episode 2, and then if they take a mid-season break, watch maybe episode 13. So 1, 2, right. 13, and then watch 14, and then 22 and 23. And that's it. That's all you need to watch. Like the 6 episodes, you got the whole. You're not gonna miss the major plot points. You'll, and you'll save yourself a bunch of time watching a bunch of boring crap.
I was trying to get through. I was trying to get through the Flash this season, right? And like I had watched the season premiere, and then I had taken a while to get back to episode 2, and I was trying to catch up. Because I had like 11 or 12 episodes, and I watched like episode 2, and it was fine, it was okay, and I'm watching them, and then I got to this episode where it was like girls' night, and it was like they were getting married, Barry, and so it was like a bachelorette party, and it was like all the supporting cast characters, and I'm just like, I don't need this episode, like, it's called The Flash. not like all his girlfriends. I don't care. I just didn't care. Like fast forwarding through parts of the episode.
Yeah, probably didn't bring anything new to the story. You were just like, I want this over with. I
It's like
I totally understand that.
it's
I
not
wish
fun.
so. I just did a review on our channel here of American Gods,
Yeah, which I haven't watched yet, by the way.
and this book did a I mean, it was really good, and I don't think they're doing it a disservice, but like they do the 9 episodes and it kind of ends,
Oh, the
and
9 issues.
yeah, the 9 issues, and it ends, and like I know that there's a lot more story here. But like if I wasn't paying attention and I was just a Neil Gaiman fan and I bought this and then it was 9 issues and I don't know when this came out. Well, it had to be last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the new number one just came out that
Yeah.
starts the next series. But like if I was led to believe that this was the whole story, I would be pissed.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You're like, there's more.
Oh, there's a lot more. And if they do as good of a job as they did with this book, telling, like, keeping to the novel,
Mm-hmm.
this has got to be like a 27 issue run. It's super dense. Like, these 9 issues are just, it's super dense and it doesn't seem, and it's got that kind of slow moving novel type storytelling in it. But
Yeah, so you're saying that you're probably going to get 3 miniseries,
yes.
probably around 9, maybe 10 issues each that they do. Because that novel, man, I see it in the bookstore. That's one thick ass novel.
Yeah, so you know me, I
And
like
I want to read it.
I like the audiobooks. That guy was like 19 and a half hours.
Oh, okay. So it's not, I mean, it's long, but it's not that bad, right?
Well, Fahrenheit 451 was like 5 hours and 15 minutes, so it's 4 times that length.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but
it's
it's a real short book, right?
right.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
So
300
it's like,
and whatever pages, 358.
yeah, the book that I had, it was like 170.
Uh so the original page count was 358 according to Wikipedia.
Oh, really?
I still have it up here on my screen. So
Honestly, it took
cheating.
me like 2 days to read 2 days to read it, and it wasn't like 2 full days. It was like a few hours one day and a few hours the other day or whatever.
Right. So
So American Gods is a novel, a TV show, and a comic book too.
yes. So yeah, or not even got. We haven't even gotten to the point. Like the TV show is further along, I think, in the story than the graphic novel is.
And the TV show does a good job too.
Yeah, I've decided I'm gonna go listen to the novel again. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure where they left off on the TV show didn't even happen in the book.
Hmm.
Some of it is definitely different in the show. I think this graphic novel is closer to the novel than the TV show is.
Yeah, it
But
makes sense.
but some of the stuff in the TV show is spot on.
Yeah, they're
But
gonna pick and choose stuff.
yeah, the same way with like Game of Thrones and stuff. I mean, that's almost a totally different telling at this point
Hmm.
than the books. There's another doozer. Some of those. Holy cow, those books are boring sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know if I could ever get into those.
I mean,
I don't think so.
they're good, but they're big stretches of just like, oh my god, can we get on with it? Of course, there was in the show too.
Yeah, I hate that in a novel. Like
Yeah.
once I start getting bored in a novel, it's like I'm probably not going to ever pick that back up
Right.
again. Well, I was going to talk about another book, but I don't really feel like it anymore. So, uh, you want to wrap it up?
All right. So you can follow me on Twitter at Johnny Redbeard. Like
And you
and
can follow me at Second Prince, and it's 2NDPRINTS.
like and subscribe on YouTube. Um, there should
Comment.
comment. There should be a little subscribe button with our icon and stuff on it at the end of this video. So just click on that to subscribe.
Yeah,
And
tell us if you like these type of shows, or if you want us to concentrate more on comics or TV shows or whatever. Just let us know what you want us to talk about. We'll take your suggestions and stuff like that.
yeah, because I mean, I watch some TV. I watch some movies. I can talk about
Yeah,
any of that.
yeah.
I
I
read
don't really watch that much TV anymore.
I read the New York Times.
Oh, do you?
I
I don't
don't.
know that.
Yeah, every day. I don't.
Every day you do?
Sure.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't
didn't
read
know
it
that.
cover to cover every day, but I read some articles every day.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
I feel
Well,
very
another issue? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
in the bag.
Just totally screwed up that ending.
It's
Let's
all
do
right.
that again.
All right.
Another issue?
What a hag. In the bag.